يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. Let's make one thing very clear. The ultimate purpose of Ramadan, just like in those verses you just heard, is to gain God consciousness. The purpose of Ramadan is not just to be thirsty and hungry throughout the day, or for the social iftar gatherings, or for the post-Taraweeh motives. It's to get closer to Allah. The reason I start a video about studying with that reminder is that because a lot of people look at Ramadan as just a pause in their normal life. They think that since they're going to spend more time hungry and in worship, that means that they're going to have less time and energy to study, go to work, go to the gym, etc. But that's a very superficial way of thinking. Let me remind you that some of Allah's attributes include Ar-Razzaq, the one who provides, Al-Alim, the all-knowing, and Al-Qawi, the most strong. And so, in Ramadan, through worship, we're supposed to get closer to the one who provides. So how can we then expect him to provide less for us? How can we get closer to the all-knowing and then expect him to decrease our knowledge? How can we get closer to the most strong and then expect him to make us weaker physically? Once we understand the concept that everything in this life is in the hands of Allah, we can fulfill the right of Ramadan, while at the same time, we can have the time and energy to keep up with the studying that we usually do in the other months, if not increase it. If you have the right mindset, you can gain more benefit out of the studying you do in Ramadan than any other month. And now that we have that mindset, what are the practical steps we could take to maximize the benefit of studying in Ramadan? Well, these are the principles that I've used in the past to get the top grades during Ramadan. The first and most important question is, when should you study? Now, this question depends on a lot of different factors, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to assume that throughout the month of Ramadan, you're going to be going to school as usual. That means from the time of 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., you're probably going to be at school. Now, the way I would study back when this was the case for me was as follows. Firstly, I would ask myself throughout the school day, are there any frees or subjects that I could use to study? Usually at this time of year, if you're in year 11 or 12 or 13, this would be the time of year when you're wrapping up all of the subjects, you're finishing the content, and you're using the lessons to revise. Now, if this was the case for me, I'd look at my timetable, I'd look for any frees or any lessons that I know that the teacher would let me revise in. If I have 2 or 3 of those throughout my day, I'd use those as my studying time. Now, there's a bunch of advantages of using the school day to study. The first is, since you're confined to your class, there's less distractions. You don't really have the ability to get up and do something else, so it gives your brain less distractions and therefore increases your studying efficiency. It also makes it so that your studying is pre-planned. It's not like you're at home and you need to motivate yourself to get up and study. That being said, it could be the case that you don't really have any frees or any lessons that your teacher would let you revise whatever you want in. If that was the case, here's what I would do. Let's assume that Taraweeh ends at around 11 p.m. I'll try to go to sleep after Taraweeh and then sleep all the way up until Suhoor and then Fajr. This will probably give you 5 or 6 hours of sleep, which is decent. I would then stay up from Fajr all the way up until I would go to school. Now, this is what I call the golden hours. No one else is awake, none of your friends or family, so there's no one up to distract you. You just ate Suhoor, so you're not really hungry or thirsty. And after 30 minutes, once you get over the grogginess, you're going to feel quite refreshed because you just slept. All things considered, it's genuinely one of the best times throughout the day to study. Trust me, all of the information will just be flowing through your brain. Now, once you're done with studying, you go to school, you come back, you need to take a nap. Remember, you're probably only on 5 hours of sleep, so it's important that you get an hour or 2 right after school to make sure that you're not sleep deprived, because if you are, all of the studying you do throughout the day will just go down the drain. By the time you wake up, it will probably be a couple of hours before iftar, so use that time to do whatever you want. Ideally, it should be something like reading Quran or making dua. Now, there's 2 times throughout the day which you should absolutely not study in. One of them is the hour or 2 before iftar. Just imagine you've been fasting for over 15 hours, and now you expect your brain to focus on math or physics without the thought or the distraction of food or water. Honestly, it sounds impossible. The second time you shouldn't study is right after iftar. In my opinion, from my experience, I wouldn't really study at all between iftar and suhoor, because in my opinion, that time is really what the essence of Ramadan is about. Breaking your fast with your family, going to pray Taraweeh, visiting friends or family. All of that stuff, in my opinion, is very valuable just to keep the essence of Ramadan. So I don't really want to ruin the spirit by including some studying in there. Instead, I'll do my studying throughout the day, especially after suhoor. Now, you might be thinking that the plan that I just provided doesn't really give you that much time to study throughout the day. But that's only if your studying is inefficient. A common misconception is that you need to study for literally half of the day just to get the top grades. Lately, though, there's been an uprise of people speaking up against this toxic idea and going down the path of efficient studying, and I'm one of them. I personally went through all of my secondary school years, GCSE and A level, with an average of only 1 hour of studying per day, and I still got the top grades. If you want to know how I did it, I've been dedicating the videos on this channel for the past year and a half to teach people how to study efficiently. But on YouTube, I can only go into so much detail, which is why I've created a program that takes you from not knowing how to study at all, guides you through every step from A to Z, in your journey of getting the top grades in GCSEs. So far, it's helped numerous people on their journeys of getting the top grades, all without studying 10 hours a day and burning out. I always say this, but GCSEs are relative. If you want to get a 9, you have to do better than 95% of people taking that exam with you. So if you really want the top grades, why don't you invest in getting that competitive advantage over everyone else? There's now less than 3 months left until the GCSE exam season. I'm currently running an offer where if you sign up for the program within the next week or so, I'll give you a free 30-minute coaching call, which I usually charge around £27 for. This offer will only last for the next week or so though, so if you're interested, hit the first link in the description.